And I'll be talking to Otis Williams of The Temptations after this, a version of The Temptations' Psychedelic Shack. I've not heard this intro before. This sounds interesting. The Temptations opening up the decade with a very different sound. Smokey Robinson was a writer and producer of songs like The Way You Do the Things You Do and My Girl, and then Norman Whitfield took over production duties, and the band went a little bit psychedelic. That was a hit in 1970. Now, if the story of any Motown group is worthy of a hit musical, the tale of the Temptations most certainly is. The lineup has changed many times since the dawn of the 1960s. One man, though, has remained a constant in their story, founder Otis Williams. The pioneering journey of the group has been transformed into a musical called Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations. It opened on Broadway in 2019 and recently transferred to the Prince Edward Theatre in London's West End. I saw a preview of the show recently and I met Otis Williams after the performance. And I asked him, after all this time, is he still a full member of the Temptations?
61 years, yes. After all these years, I'm still a Temptation.
And you're the one you described in the show as the backbone of the Temptations. It was kind of your group right in the beginning in Detroit when you started it. And you've been through so many ups and downs over the years.
Yes.
What has kept you going and determined to keep the Temptations going as a group?
You know, that's a good question, because sometimes I've asked myself, why are you still doing it, Otis? And for the love of, for the love of being at Motown, so many fans, not wanting to let, all of them down. And I still enjoy it. Even with all the traumatic things that I've gone through, I've always had that desire to continue on. And 61 years later, I'm still doing it, riding the hair off the horse. When I get off the horse, it'll be bald.
And it's mentioned in the show, the actor who plays you in the show said, over the years, since 1963 to the present day, I think, 27 Temptations?
How about that? Yeah, it might even be more now, because we have two new guys, Tony Grant and Jamal Jackson, who's from the play when it was in New York on Broadway. So he's singing bass with me now.
I mean, we had the Supremes, 3 people.
Right.
4 Tops, 4 people. Why did you always keep 5 in the Temptations?
The reason I like 5 was because when I saw the Cadillacs and Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, I just like the thing of 5. For me, it works good, because when I would lose a member, I still was able to continue on with 4. So 5 has always been a magical number for me, and I just like the unity, the look, the projection of 5 guys.
Now, we played Psychedelic Shack, which was sort of a newer sound for the Temptation in the 70s. Right. And how were the rest of the group about this change of direction from doing ballads and harmony?
Well, that's part of the reason why we are so flexible and strong, because I've always been around having guys that would be able to sing anything. When Paul and Eddie joined the group, they had a trio called the Primes. They were singing jazz. My group, we were noted for singing gospel. So when we combined the two, we were able to sing anything.
Now, the year before Psychedelic Shack, there was the huge hit Cloud 9.
Yes.
Which won a Grammy, the first ever Grammy for a Motown group. Right. Were the other groups a bit jealous that it was the Temptations that won the first Grammy?
Well, you know what? I really don't know, because how that came about. We were in New York City, and my good friend Kenny Gamble of Gamble and Huff, him and I were talking at the hotel that we were staying in at the time. And so as him and I were talking, we heard this say, boom, boom, doom, 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 doom. So it cut into our conversation. I said, who is that? That's different. Kenny said, I don't know, man, but it sure is different. And we had to fly home, meaning the Temps had to fly back to Detroit. And at the time, we had a hit called Please Return Your Love. Eddie Kendricks, had left us, but we were with that song. And I ran into Norman Whitfield at a club in Detroit. I said, Norman, there's a new sound out, man, you know, and Dennis had just joined the group. I said, maybe we should try something different and check them out. Now, to know Norman Whitfield, I loved him. We grew up together. Cocky. All cocky. Man, I ain't singing that down, but now he just raised a little thing, stink on it. Temps went out of town, came back in town. He recorded the track to Cloud 9. So now, you know, I had to mess with him. Oh, no, you didn't want to do that. It was this and that. Oh, man, shut up. Come on, let's go and record this. And we recorded Cloud 9 and sold over 1 million copies and our first Grammy. And what makes it so spooky, I'm so used to calling Motown, talking to the production, the promoters. Hey, how we doing today? This is Cloud 9. Oh, we got to keep working it. Because our audience had become very spoiled since I lost my babies, Please Return Your Love, My Girl. And to come up with a Cloud 9, it's like, what have the Temps done now? And but the second or third week, it jumped off. It was running up the charts. Sold over 1 million copies. First Grammy.
You talked about someone being a bit cocky. Well, that kind of brings us to David Ruffin, who was a great lead singer for the Temptations and sung on so many great hits. But then there was a time, because of his drug involvement, and he just was not a reliable member of the group, so you made the decision he had to go.
Yeah.
So then you'd carry on gigs with the new singer, Dennis Edwards.
Yes.
And lo and behold, leaping on stage would be one David Ruffin grabbing the microphone.
Yes, he did do that.
How many times did he do that?
Oh, well, he only did it that one time because we had the road manager that we had, Don Foster. And I guess David hadn't gotten over the shock that, I'm not up there with him, with the Temps. So he tried to get on stage, and Don Foster, being our road manager at the time, said, no, David, you can't do that. You're out of the group, let it rest. Don Foster came to me before we went on, and David Ruffin had slapped him so hard that his handprint was upside his face. And Don said, Otis, I took that one for the team. If he hit me again, I'm going to kill him. So we've had some tumultuous times, in our existence.
Now, the song War, I mean, there's a bit of war going on there between those two, but Norman Whitfield had written a song and wanted the Temptations to record it, but Barry Gordy didn't want you doing anything so political.
We recorded War first. Yeah, it was on one of our albums. And Norman wanted to release it as a single, but like Barry said, no, I don't want the Temps to get that political where it's our single. So Edwin Starr came out with it, and it was a big hit for Edwin Starr.
Now, you did get political with Ball of Confusion.
Yes, yeah. Ball of Confusion, when we came into town, and Norman would come by my house before we would go in the studio. Hey, man, I want you to check this out. And I listened to it, and I said, that's different. I said, sounds good. All right, we met Norman. So we were upstairs rehearsing it. The phrasing, we had to really get over, especially whoever was leading it, because the words had to be right in the pocket with the song, with the music. Luckily, Dennis was able to, so it's that kind of regimented kind of thing.
People moving out, people moving in, why? Because of the color.
That was the Temptations and Ball of Confusion, and I'm talking to founder member Otis Williams. Now, Melvin Franklin, the fellow with the big deep voice, was a very big friend of yours, and you went through so much together.
Yes.
And he asked you to make a pact that you two, neither of you would ever leave the Temptations. When Melvin died, did you think maybe that's it for the group now?
You know something? I didn't think that would be it for the group. I lost a wonderful friend, and I never will forget when we lost Melvin, the late, great Levi Stubbs said, man, you ain't gonna get nothing like that. Ain't gonna be another bitch singer like him. I said, Levi, God don't make no one of nothing. Now, He might not have the same personality that Melvin had, aside from the deep voice. But I've been lucky enough to have some guys to hold it down. Melvin was always the magnificent one, because we sung gospel, and, he just had that rudimentary kind of thing that we needed, But the young man that we have now is doing a great job, Jawan Jackson, who's from a play when it was in New York on Broadway. And Willie Green was a good bass singer, So I've had at least those two since Melvin has made his transition.
Now, God has taken a lot of temptations, but he's been smiling on you. You're still here after all this time.
You know what? You're right. I tell people now, I say, God left me here for a reason. For whatever reason, here I am. And I guess to have the temptations to continue on. And even more so, look at us now. I'm here in London with Shelley about Temptations play. Like I said, I never would imagine Temp's life story, or my life story, however you want to paraphrase it, would be made and then loved so dearly now.
It's amazing. It's playing on Broadway. It's on tour all over America. It's now in London. It's going to be everywhere. When you sit in a seat in the theatre and you see the musical, the play of 60 years of the Temptations, all the highs and lows.
Right.
Do you feel very proud?
Oh, yeah, I do. Even with all the trepidations that we've gone through. Because, like I said, me, my life story on Broadway, so it just keep happening, and no telling what plateau this play might move on up to next, because, can't never tell. It might try and make it into a movie, but I'm just enjoying it, and I'm so thankful that God left me here to be able to be part of something that, like I said, it's going to outlive us all. Everybody. This here music and the importance of Motown is here to stay.
It's great to see you. Thank you very much for your time. It's
My
been a
pleasure.
real pleasure talking to you.
Same here.
Thank you, Otis.
Thank you.
The Temptations and Popular the Rolling Stone, concluding our special, an interview with the one and only Otis Williams. And sitting before him, you realise this guy's 81 years old. So much wisdom and so much experience in his life. Such a very gentle and modest man. And sitting next to him was another part of the Temptations story. There's a scene in the musical when they're introduced to their new manager. He's a white guy, which they all look at each other and say, what's going on here? Why have we got a white guy for a manager? His name's Shelley Berger. He's been manager of the Temptations for 56 years. And he himself is 84 years old, and he was sitting next to Otis. And apparently they start every day with a phone call. You see Shelley ringing up Otis. Hi, Otis, you there? You awake? Yeah, I'm awake, Shelley. Shelley goes, well, looks like we got another shot, another day. This is what Shelley Berger said about Otis Williams.
Trust me, I love the Temptations. I was a part of the Temptations from the Classic 5 to this day. But I will tell you, if you did not have an Otis Williams, the Temptations would have been, with all the hits, the Temptations would have been gone 40 years ago. But they're not, and they won't be, as long as this man sitting to my right is here.
There we go, manager Shelley Berger talking about Otis Williams. And Jane Birmingham from Romsey in Hampshire. Excited to hear your interview with Otis. We saw the show on Broadway in September 2019. We've seen the original Temps live in concert. Looking forward to seeing the show again in July. It was so good. What a story to tell. And the Temptations musical is called Ain't Too Proud. The Life and Times of the Temptations on at the Prince Edward Theatre in London's West End. If you do a search for their website, it's beautifully put together, and they include a load of video clips of certain aspects connected to the musical, including some American breakfast TV specials. And you see the Temptations, or the cast of the Temptations musical from Broadway, actually performing on a temporary stage in Broadway in New York with all the traffic going by. It's quite fantastic. And thanks again to Otis Williams.